Good morning, everybody. Welcome to PDSVISION Webinar Wednesday. My name is Sevi Beaver, and I'm going to be talking about distributed batch today. I'm going to give people just a couple more minutes to join in. I'll probably go ahead and get started in just a minute or two. Organization, the different file types that can be used. Check out those webinars if that sounds interesting to you. As far as distributed batch is concerned, I tried to outline what I think this applies to. So mainly this applies to CAD management and configuration automation, or at least that's what I put this under. We're going to see why. We're going to see what this does in just a second. Then maybe a little bit into the yellow outline area. All right, so what is Creo Distributed Batch? So essentially what this is an additional piece of software that's in the Creo suite of products. So this isn't Creo Parametric, it's gonna be something else that you can download along with Creo Parametric. What it allows us to do is to automatically perform some operation across a whole lot of parts, assemblies, or drawings. So just looking at the right side of the screen here under capabilities, what are the operations that we can do with this? So first we can plot and print. So an example here is we have a folder that has 100 different Creo drawings in it. We want to automatically plot or print all 100 of those drawing files. So what we would have to do traditionally is do that manually. We'd have to open up each file. We'd have to open up the first one. We'd have to plot it, print it according to the settings that we want to use. We'd have to do that then 100 times for each specific drawing. So what distributed batch lets us do for that specific operation is automate the process. So if we have a folder with 100 different drawing files, we can pull up distributed batch, and we can set up an automated process that's going to run through all 100 of those, and it's going to plot them all using those same settings. So that's the value of distributed batch, being able to run these operations across a whole lot of files automatically. Some other operations include importing and exporting 2D and 3D data. So export to step, something like that. Creating shaded images of parts and assemblies. Using ModelCHECK, we can run ModelCHECK across a whole lot of different parts and assemblies. Messing with versions, a lot of people have files that are of the wrong version. We can delete previous versions using distributed batch. And map keys as well. A cool example of a map key application of this that I've run into, we had a company that just put some standard views on their drawings. I think just the normal top view, front view, right view. But they were looking to start 3D printing their models or use a new printer or something along those lines. And what they needed was a left view, but a left view that was rotated 90 degrees. So the view they needed was not a view standard to their Creo template. And they had hundreds of parts. So they had, let's say 900 parts, and they needed this view created on all 900 of those parts. They then needed to create the drawings and then export those drawings with that correct view. That's the kind of thing that we are going to use distributed batch for. So specifically what we did to create that view, we used a map key. We created the map key that would create a new view in our model that was oriented correctly. And then we ran that map key with distributed batch, again, across maybe 900 parts. Then we made the changes to the drawing. We published that drawing or plotted that drawing, again, using distributed batch to go through all 900 or so drawings, update them with the correct view. All right, so a Couple other things to cover here. This can be used with Windchill or without Windchill. If you have your files saved locally, that's fine. If you have your files saved on a shared drive, a shared network, something like that, that's also fine. If you have your file saved on Windchill, that's fine. This works in all of those scenarios. The license to do this is included by default with Design Essentials. Design Essentials is the tier 1 subscription from PTC. So if you have a subscription to Creo, you probably have this. The exception here is that there are 2 license tiers. The first tier is included with Design Essentials. The second tier is something that you would have to buy, and it comes with something called Creo Distributed Services Extension, or Distributed Services Manager. What that lets you do is use the computing power of multiple computers to run these operations. So in that previous example where we had to run distributed batch on 900 different parts, we have to run a map key on 900 parts. If I just did that using my own computer, maybe that would take 8 hours. I'm just making these numbers up, but it could take a really long time. What the Distributed Services Manager lets you do is use the hardware from multiple computers. So I can say I want to use my entire team's computers for maybe 1 hour to get that done much quicker. Again, that functionality is going to be an additional license that you'd have to purchase, but it would let you utilize computing power from multiple computers and then just get this done. So I do just want to address a question that I got, or 2 questions that I got right now that I think are relevant. So first question, can you run a batch process overnight? The answer is definitely yes. So if this is going to take a long time, you can just let it go and then let your computer run. The only caveat there is you're not going to be able to use Creo during that time. So you doing it overnight is probably a good idea, because as this is running, using Creo is gonna kind of mess this up. And the second question, I was under the impression that this was used globally to run a batch file to update Creo releases across the company, but I think this is even more interesting. Just to speak to that, there is a way to do that as well. It's a topic of a different webinar. I'm not sure if we've done one on that, but if we haven't, we probably should. Just to repeat that again, the question was, or it wasn't exactly this, but it was referring to basically updating 80 engineers up to Creo 8 using the same settings automatically. And there is a way to do that. It's not the topic of this webinar, but I will send you a link to a webinar on that one if we do have it. I'll look into that after this. It's pretty cool as well. Just as you said, different topic. All right, so how to use distributed batch. A step 0 that I didn't mention would be make sure that you're licensed to use this. As I said, the base license tier is included with any subscription for Creo. So Design Essentials and up, Design Essentials being the tier 1 subscription. So if you're on a subscription, you should have this. A case where you would not have this would be if you were on a perpetual license. So if your company is locked to Creo 7, or let's say Creo 3 even, there are still companies that use Creo 3. If you're on a perpetual license, then you might not have access to this. Question, will there be a link to this presentation? This is going to go on YouTube, yes. So it should be up within a day or 2. I'll go over that at the very end, but our channel is PDSVISION, and yeah, this video will go on YouTube. So step 0, which is not up here, would be make sure that you have the license. And as I said, any subscription to Creo should get you that license. Step 1 would be make sure the required software is downloaded. as I put here, if you have the required software downloaded, you should be able to find ptcdbatch.bat in your Creo load point parametric bin folder. I will show where you can look for that in my demonstration in just a second. If you do not have this, then you will need the Creo parametric install files. So let's say you're running Creo 8. If you don't have this, then you're going to need those initial download files for Creo 8. Those can be found online on ptc.com, but you need that initial setup.exe, and you're going to have to basically run the downloader again and download this extension. So that's step one, just making sure you can find this ptcdbatch.bat on your computer. Then we can open that up. There are a couple steps that are optional here. Some operations are going to require a custom config.pro file. For example, if we're running a map key, the way we're going to run a map key is by saving that map key as a config.pro. So sometimes we will have to put a config.pro into distributed batch. So we'd set that up if necessary. We would then modify the TTD file if necessary as well. I'll go over that in my demo, just a case where we'd want to do that. Then the last optional step would be set up distributed services. That's if you want to pay extra money, get the higher license tier, and then be able to use the computing power of multiple computers to do this faster. And then finally, we can run. So I'm going to go through this. One of the things I don't have open, sorry about that. I'm just going to show you how to identify if you have distributed batch downloaded. So the file path to check that out, we're going to go Program Files, PTC. Whichever version of Creo you are using for your main CAD design. And then we're going to go into Parametric and Bin. And if I look in here, I should be able to find PTC batch. If you do not see the Creo folder in Program Files PTC, there's a chance that you would set it to be somewhere else, or whoever downloaded your Creo did. But this is the normal file path that should apply to almost everybody. We call this load point and then parametric bin. As I said, if you do not have this and you think that you should be licensed, then what you're going to have to do is get those initial Creo install files. So the files that you use to download and install Creo initially. You're going to run that setup, and then you're going to have to select distributed services, or just Creo distributed something. It's a checkbox when you download Creo to be able to see this. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and just run this as admin. There we go. And this is what distributed batch looks like. Let's close out of this. So for this example, I have a part file. This is just a sleeve. It's for a door handle. And if I go to File, Open, we'll notice that I just have a folder here on my desktop. It has 3 of these sleeves, and there are 3 drawings here as well. All right, so if I go ahead and open the drawing, we can see what I got here. Essentially what I'm going to be trying to do I only have 3 drawings here just because it's a demonstration. You know, if this works for 3, of course it'll work for 900. But the idea here is I'm going to be taking these drawings and exporting them to PDF. I'm going to automate that process. Okay, so back to distributed batch. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to, if I want, I'm going to connect to Windchill. If I'm using Windchill, which I am not in this case, then I would go into Tool Server Management. I would put in my Windchill server information and connect to Windchill. I'm working locally, that does not apply to me. All right, so the first step, besides Windchill, is I'm going to go to Action, New Task Group. We're going to see a list of all of the task groups or operations that we can do in distributed batch. So we can see a lot of these operations. For example, export to a DWG file, export to a DXF, various CATIA exports as well, neutral 3D export and imports, IGES export and import, JT file, et cetera, et cetera. We have some PDF options here. A whole lot of different plot operations that we can run through. Step, STL, SolidWorks. And that is about it. If we look at miscellaneous, we can see that we have ModelCHECK. So we can run ModelCHECK across a whole lot of different models. We can also create a Creo simulate study. So we can actually automate running simulations using this. That is actually really nice in use with the distributed services. These simulations can take a really long time to run as well. So what we can do is use the computing power from a network of computers to run simulations faster using this functionality. And lastly here, run a map key defined in a config.pro. That's also one that I think is very, very useful. Okay. So the one that we are going to be interested in here, PDF DRW multi-page export. This is just going to plot my drawing to a PDF file. So I'm going to go ahead and select that and click OK. I want to point out that these operations here are all files. So these are all actually saved somewhere. The file extension is .ttd. We're going to come back to that in just a minute. But we can see that this operation, PDF DRW multi-page export, this is referencing an actual file somewhere called plot DRW to PDF.ttd. Okay. Now I'm going to do a file save as. This is going to save basically my distributed batch project here. That's different from this operation, this TTD operation that I'm pulling. I could add multiple operations to this tree over here on the left and then save this entire project as a distributed batch file. So I'll save this as PDF exports. Okay. Okay. So as I click through the tree over here on the left, we'll see it gives me different options. So I'm going to go through the setup. First, I'm going to click the operation as a whole up here. And for DSM, I'm going to click this drop down and select standalone. This is where I would specify if I was using Distributed Services Manager to use the power of multiple computers to run this faster. This is where I would enter that. I'm not going to be doing that in this demonstration. If you are interested in learning how to do that, I'm going to post a link to this article on ptc.com that walks you through the specific steps. You need to open up your command prompts to set up your computer to run in this distributed mode. It's a little bit of a process, but it's not too bad. Pretty easy to walk through these steps. You just have to have administrator privileges on the computers. So yeah, I'm going to put a link to this at the end of the video. This is if you want to get that better license, use multiple computers, as I've said. But we are not doing that. We are just going to do standalone. Okay, so for objects, I'm going to go ahead and select objects. I can navigate to the folder in question. I can grab these 3 drawings and okay. Additionally, I'm just going to delete these. I can use this other option. This will just let me select the folder in question, and it'll grab all the drawings in that folder. Oops, it's open, and then I can Control A to grab them all. Okay. So if you have, 1,000, again, you can use that tool. You can also just do an open and then Control A. So I don't think it really matters. A few ways to get all of these pretty easily. Okay. So now these 2 are good. I'm going to go to configuration files. Now this operation, export to PDF, our configuration files are going to be optional for the most part. But I'm actually going to use a configuration file here because I do want to use a couple specific options. All right. So the way I'm going to do that is I'm going to go into configuration editor here in Creo. And I'm going to just use some options that are going to change how my final PDF export looks. So I'm going to do display planes. I'm going to set that to no. And I'm going to do this for all of my different datum types. So display axes, I'm going to set to no. By default, these are all going to display in the PDF export. And I don't want those. So I'm going to have to specify in config.pro that I don't want those. Oops. I think I missed it. Display points, no, okay. Must already been, okay. And coordinate system, no, okay. Now the other thing I want to do is I want to do a search path. I use this option to make sure that Creo or distributed batch is going to be able to find the files in question. I must have already added that to one of these others. Should be why it's not showing up there. That's okay. Okay, and it's going to ask me if I want to save. And I can just save these options that I have here anywhere I would like. I actually already saved them here, which is why they weren't, which is why this kind of broke. But I'll go ahead and pull up that file and we can see exactly how that looks. Okay. So we can see those options I just added. Display points, no. Display axes, no. Display coordinate systems, no. Display planes, no. And then I have these search paths. These do have to be absolute paths. So sometimes Creo will like abbreviate these file paths here. If it does that, you do have to go into this config.pro in Notepad here and just make sure that these absolute paths are all the way typed out like this. They don't start with C or some other letter, some drive, then you're gonna have to fix that. Okay, so this looks good. This looks good to me. So I'm gonna jump back to here, and I'm gonna select that config.pro. And now those options are gonna be used for this operation. Lastly, output. Default is same as source object location. I want to do other directory that I will specify. And I'll put them in this PDF folder that I made. Okay. Okay. So as a last thing, there's not really a great time to cover this, but I just want to look at these actual TTD files and talk about one specific thing that we can do there. So I mentioned that these operations are all saved as a real file somewhere. That somewhere is in your Creo 10 or Creo whatever version, common files, text, TTDs. We can see this plot drw to pdf.ttd here. So what I'm going to do really quick is I'm actually going to create a copy of this. So I'm going to copy and paste to create a second version of this TTD here. And then I'm going to open this and edit it with Notepad. And we'll see that this operation that we're doing, this export, there's a lot of code in here, and this code is actually telling us, telling Creo or telling our computer what to do. So what we can do is we can make small changes to this code if we understand it. So we can see, for example, DPI 300. This line of code, even if you don't have coding experience, you can figure out some of what this is doing. So I could go to this file again. This is going to be the file for that operation of export to PDF, and I can make some small changes. What I'm going to do is instead of color, I'm going to change this word color here to mono, and that will make this black and white. So pro PDF CD _ mono. And then I'm going to change the details up here, or the description, black and white. Create one PDF file, in black and white. Okay, and file save. I didn't open this as admin, did I? All right, let's see. Did not think that went through. All right, so I got to open that as admin and then file open and then navigate. So it's going to be program files, PTC, Creo 10, common files, text, and TTDs. Is it called again? Plot DRW to PDF. All right. So I'm going to open the copy I made, and we're making those changes. And I change this color to mono. And file save. All right. So now in dbatch, if I do action new task group, I scroll down a little bit. Oh, I've got to close out of dbatch and open it, don't I? Yeah, I'll go ahead and do that. There we go. So now if I go into new task group, we look closely, we'll see this multi-page export black and white that I created. That's referencing plot to PDF -copy.ttd. And this is going to be that file that I edited to be black and white. So, okay, I'll just run through this again really fast. Set this up. I'll save over the previous one. So again, we're going to do DSM standalone. Objects. I'm going to grab the 3 drawings. Config file. Output other directory. Looks good. All right. So before I run this, what distributed batch is going to do is it's going to run Creo in the background. It is actually running Creo parametric, doing these operations. So to prevent any issues, what I like to do is completely close out of Creo. So I'm going to go ahead and just completely close out. Will it work if you have Creo open? Can you use Creo? Maybe. I've had problems with it, as I've said. Sometimes I've even had to Control-Alt-Delete, go into Task Manager, and just look for anything that says Creo or PTC. So I can just do that really quick. Creo 10, yeah, let's end that. Let's see if there's anything PTC. That should all be fine, I think. All right, so now I can go ahead and run this and everything should be fine. Okay, so the way I'm going to run this, I'm just going to right click. I can schedule it to run like at a later time if I want to run it in the evening, but I'm just going to hit start. Okay, we'll see that it just worked for a second and now it's saying complete. If I go to output, there is a log file that's going to be generated every time this is run. It's useful for troubleshooting errors. You can see the file path for that here. But I'm just going to go to my PDFs and we can see that they look great. All right, so it's just going to run through very quickly. If I was to want to do a map key operation, the setup would be extremely similar. The only difference would be my objects here, so I'd still do standalone. My objects here would be parts or assembly files, most likely. If I was creating a new view for those parts or assemblies, that would be, most likely just these part files that I would run this map key on. Config file, I would have to create the map key in Creo, save it as a config.pro. So load in a config.pro here that includes the map key itself. Then as an additional step, we actually have to go into the map key TTD. So in this TTD file, we have to specify the specific map key that we want to run. So we're going to have to upload that map key in the config file. Then we have to go to the TTD. And files text TTD. we gotta find map key. There it is, map key.ttd. Open with Notepad. And we'll see replace F1 with chosen with map key when customizing file. So we're going to put in our map key right here where I've highlighted that we want to run. Save the TTD. Upload the map key with config.pro, and then we're good to go. So you can see that this process is pretty much the same. We're gonna go into the TTD file, make sure everything looks good to us. Here, I'll just pull up my steps. Create a custom config.pro if necessary, modify the TTD file, set up distributed services if you'd like, and then run dbatch. Okay. If you would like to learn more about Creo, we don't have a class for distributed batch, as far as I know. If you're interested in any other kind of training, we've been doing a lot of training lately, virtual, in person, hybrid, whatever. Let us know if you are interested. Besides that, I'm just going to leave this up for a second if you want to take a screenshot. The first is a YouTube video. This YouTube video goes over a lot of the same stuff that I just went over, so I feel bad not citing it as a source. This video is very helpful to me when I was learning distributed batch, specifically this PDF export. So I feel that I need to, just put a link there. I didn't. There's not anything there that I didn't cover, but was very useful for me, as I said. And the second link here is that page that would help you set up Distributed Services Manager. Again, you'd have to pay more for an upgraded license to do that. But if you have something that's going to take a really long time, that might be worth it for you. Okay. Here is my email on the screen. So if you have any technical questions for me that I didn't cover, or if you don't submit a question fast enough today, just reach out to me via email. I'm happy to help. My email address is actually just changed at the 1st of last month, August 1st. So if you've seen one of my webinars previously, just note that my email is different. If you still have my old email, that'll still be forwarded to my new one for the next year. But just take note of this new address. And that is all I got. Thank you, everybody. I think I've got a couple questions here. If anybody else has any questions, you can go ahead and submit them now. I'll give everybody a couple minutes to do that. All right. So some questions. I might have to look into some of these and get back to you. So the first one, can we do batch processing to generate both Creo drawing files and drawing PDFs for all rows in a family table? We do have a generic drawing for Creo to refer to. This is actually something that I have not thought of. I'm not a Windchill person, and I know there are ways to do things like this using Windchill. However, if you're not using Windchill, I'm actually not sure. So the question, can we do this using a family table of different versions of a very similar model, different versions of similar drawings? There should be a way to do that, but I'm not sure off the top of my head. So regarding that question, I will look into that and I will get back to you with what I find. Next question we got here. Is there a way, for example, to export the PDF of an assembly and automatically pull in its child's components to export their drawings as well? Or do all the assembled parts drawings need to be added manually? So So the way that you're gonna pull these in is just based on where they're saved physically. So there's not, so if you have, parts that are saved somewhere else, top level assemblies in a different place, and the drawings as well, or something like that. If you just select the assembly drawings, there's not going to be a way to automatically select all of the part drawings if they're in a different, they're saved in a different directory. If they are saved in the same place, then you can just, select them all that way. But no, there's not going to be a shortcut there. It is just going to come down to selecting the right place. Does it have to be run as admin? As far as I know, yes. As far as I know, it does have to be run as admin. I'm not sure. That could be a firewall setting on our side or something along those lines. But in my experience, yes, it always has to be run as admin. And what is error -23? Good question. I think I've definitely seen that one before, haven't I? Let's see what I can fish up on that. I just want to see if I can find it really quick. I don't think that applies. I'm not exactly sure on that one. I would say that if you're getting that error, if you're trying to run this right now and you're getting that error, just send me an email. So I'll go back. There we go. Just shoot me an email if you could take a screenshot of that error. And if this is when you try to run dbatch, if you could get that log file as well, that would be great. Just include those to me in an email, and I will look into that for you. Okay, I think that is all I have for today. If you all think of any more questions, as I said, feel free to reach out. This is going to go on YouTube. The YouTube channel in question is PDSVISION. And this should be on YouTube within a day or two. Usually Militia is pretty quick on that. But definitely, in the next few to several days, it'll definitely be up there. Thank you again, everybody, for your time today. Hope you all learned something. You're going to be able to implement this. And I hope you all have a great rest of the week. Thanks again.